Thanks everybody for joining us today. Obviously, we're excited that we get closer and closer to fall. Very impressed with the way our players have engaged in everything that we've done, from the Zoom meetings to what they're doing on the field right now with Coach Hall, the strength staff, and our medical staff. Obviously, the repopulation, the health and safety is something that is a priority for us. So excited about where we're at. Can't thank J.D. Wicker and President Delatorre for their hard work during this pandemic and the leadership and their guidance. So with that, we'll open it up.
What's your confidence level that, first off, you guys will get to play your full season, and then how likely is it, do you think, that you'll end up just playing Mountain West Conference games?
Yeah, well, I think this, Todd. Obviously, the UCLA game, we will not play that contest with the Pac-12 making the decision just to play conference games. I think, from everything that we know and talking with the Mountain West, we feel confident and hope to obviously get some good football in the fall. Until we hear anything else, we're preparing for the season.
I'm curious, in your personal opinion, you see the professional leagues using every resource possible, a lot of money, just to be able to try and get to their seasons. Do you, in your mind, realistically think with the NCAA and how big it is and how many athletes and staff that they have to try and test and all that, that it is a realistic possibility that you guys could do a season?
Well, I think it is. In talking with the other coaches and in the Mountain West, I think there is some belief. The longer this goes, to some degree, I think the test will become a little bit more affordable. But at this point, we'll have 83 guys that have been tested and that will be on the field on Friday.
Howdy, Coach. Just want to know if you have an update for us on any testing, how many have been, if anyone's had it, and such.
Well, like I said, we're going to have 85 guys who on Friday that have all tested, and we've been in good shape. I like how our guys have done it. It seemed to take a little longer than we thought to begin with, but I think the process now has caught up and feel good about where we're at as a team.
Good. I wanted to ask you about your senior class. Obviously, has played such a significant role here at San Diego State. What type of additional leadership qualities have they had to show during the last 4 months to get to the point where you hopefully take the field in a couple of months?
Well, John, I think this senior class, obviously is going through between the pandemic and the social injustice. I think they've done a tremendous job with accountability position-wise. And early in the summer, or probably late May, we talked about accountability groups within each position, and the seniors have done a tremendous job of really igniting this team and engaging everybody into what we want to do and what our goals are when we get to start to play football again.
Brady, what was your reaction today to the Aztecs being picked for first place in the West Division?
Well, like most preseason picks and all that kind of stuff, it comes down to it. Obviously, we want to play a season and we want to earn that. So, I don't know if it was surprising because of some of the guys that we have returning, particularly on defense, but at the same time, that's great, but that doesn't mean anything right now.
A bit of a two-part question here, Brady. You mentioned the social injustices in the BLM movement and all that. Did you have a conversation with your kids? And if so, kind of what were their voices? And then a second part to that question is, could you ever have imagined your return to the head coaching role being with all this madness going on?
Well, I'll answer the second one first. No. Obviously, very honored and privileged to be the head coach at San Diego State. But in this environment, I don't think any of us saw that coming. Secondly, we got together early with the death of George Floyd. Miles McPherson, who's a dear friend, and met with our team. We really want to educate each other. We want to have those conversations. I think our seniors did a tremendous job putting out a message and a statement that they wrote and came up with. And we constantly, I know our coaches within their meetings also individually, we try and talk about the topics and we try and stay ahead. And also, again, I think the education that we all need to educate each other.
Brady, you guys still on track to start practice August 7th, and can you go over kind of how you guys will ramp up to that over the next 2 weeks?
Yeah, Kirk, there's no doubt. Right now we're set to practice on August 7th. This Friday, we can start walkthroughs, and so we've scheduled those walkthroughs, and our guys have been doing a really good job. And Adam Hall and his strength staff, Pat Spieldinner and the training staff, they've done a tremendous job on how the flow through our building, the equipment people, Kirk, how our guys pick up their laundry and drop off their laundry, and everything we're doing's been outside. From putting the weights out on the field to when we have the runs. Really excited about how our guys have handled that. And we expect to kick it off the 7th.
Coach, a couple of your guys have been voted to preseason watch lists, like Tariq and Cameron for the Bednarik Award. So what is your reaction to some of those announcements?
Well, it's exciting for them, I'm sure. It's exciting for us as a program. But as you all know, you got to go out and prove it, and this program was based on toughness and a mentality. And part of that mentality is, the guys who have played, they've got to play at a higher level than they did the year before. And the other part of it is, the best players got to play. And so they've got to earn that right again to represent the Aztecs.
Brady, can you go over a little bit how practice will work given the circumstances we're under? Will they be different as far as having the ones against the twos, and will the groups not be together in the same way as they have been in the past?
Well, I think right now, there's two plans. Number one is to keep it as similar as we have in the past, and secondly, then you've got the plan that you want to make sure that your ones and threes and maybe your twos and fours, however that shakes out. We as a staff, we got 6 weeks of winter conditioning and then 6 days of practice. So there's a lot of competition out there and a lot for our staff to make sure in our evaluations. So we will make it as competitive as possible.
Thank you very much. I was also wondering if you had any players, coaches, any personnel who had decided they weren't going to be a part of any of the program out of fears of getting sick or getting someone else.
No, Brandon, we haven't. Like I said, I'm real proud of this group of young men. I think we constantly try and educate their parents and them on what we're doing, and them knowing that the safe and their health is a premium, and we need to make sure that we're doing everything to through our training department, our doctors, and what we do with the equipment, the distancing that we have, the mask wearing that we have when they are in the building. And it's really, I think there's a lot of people, Bobby Smitherin, Adam Hall, I think Angie and Sonny in the equipment room have done a tremendous job to really make it as safe as an environment as we can.
If I just may have a quick follow-up, then I'll be quiet.
You got it.
In any checks, we talk about physical health. What about the mental health? Have you guys been working on that in any way, shape, or form?
Yeah, we have. And on campus here, there's a really good department that we've used, just in general with being a student athlete and some of those messages that some of the student athletes, and I'm not just talking football here, it's a great resource that we have.
Brady, what will the protocol be in practice if, say, one player was to test positive? Would that mean isolating that whole position group? And how disruptive do you think that could be during the practice portion of it?
Yeah, Kirk, I think still in the next 2 weeks, I think there'll be more, we'll look at that situation a little more. I think the protocol right now would be that, you quarantine a group. But I think as we keep knowing more about the pandemic and those kind of things, there's a good possibility that it would just, maybe quarantine one individual and do the testing on the others.
If I can ask one follow-up. There's a San Diego Summer Collegiate Baseball League that they have not tested guys regularly, but if they showed symptoms, then they would test them. Do you think that would be the best option for you guys, or would you rather see testing on a regular basis?
Well, not being a medical person, but I do think that would be the best way to handle it.
Brady, there was early on a lot of people saying that playing college football would be a bad idea and that it would just be for the money of the schools. But is there a flip side to that where how much sports and athletics means to some of these kids, especially the seniors who could be part of their future, and also the fans and people that are looking for distraction? I mean, is there a flip side to playing for the good of the people and the players?
Well, I would say this, as long as we can do it safely, I think there's no question that it's an important part of obviously our players and their college experience. But, I think as long as we can do things safely and have a great plan, which I know we do and will, I think it's an important piece of what we do.
Coach, would you look to replace this UCLA game, or will you wait until that's up and make a determination on non-conference football before?
Well, obviously, the conference, we will wait on the conference to make some of those decisions. Obviously, and as a coach and as a player, I think your competitiveness, you would like to replace it, but that's going to become something from the conference, and then obviously JD and President Delatorre will make some decisions.
As all this has evolved, some coaches have talked about, do you keep all your quarterbacks together in the same room and together in practice, or do you kind of separate them in case any one of them were to get anything? What would your approach be in that regard?
Well, right now, they've been all working out together. I mean, they're all in the same group, so that bubble there is together. But we've talked about with the whoever that starter is, meeting, one-on-one with Coach Hecklinski, and then meeting virtually with the other three. So that's one way that some people are doing it. But right now, they've been with each other for at least 3 weeks, in that bubble as much as we can. And so right now, Kirk, they're all together.
Are you doing or considering doing any group meetings outdoors? Partitioning off chunks of the field and having your linemen meet one side, defense on another, quarterbacks in the middle of the field, running backs. Have you thought about any type of meetings outdoors?
Yeah, heck so. In fact, we're doing everything outdoors right now. Some of the virtual meetings, that we're doing, which mostly the meetings themselves are virtual right now. But yeah, we've talked about putting chairs out there, talked about putting a screen possibly in the parking garage and showing tape on a screen with everybody with masks and everybody socially distanced. So yeah, it's part of one of the plans that we would have.
Realistically, how can you play football in a pandemic when you have 22 guys in close proximity, many of them slamming together for up to 70 plays?
I think that you look at a couple leagues that seem to have, in some ways, figured that out. When you look at the Big Ten and the Pac-12, I think as we keep getting closer to that time for us to go out there on the 7th, there may be some other ways that we want to do it, but you got to play football, and at some point we have to. We've got to hit each other. We've got to tackle. So, as we keep moving forward, as we get closer to the date, I think we'll find out a little bit more.
Some of the schools, I think Clemson's the most notable, they've had more than 3 dozen guys test positive, but it looks like this age group is mostly asymptomatic. Do you think that's something that's in the favor of this being able to go forward? Is that a lot of these guys don't seem to get it the way the older people do and the people with underlying conditions?
Well, I think that's true. If you follow the science, that's what you hear. Obviously, that's what we hear. And that's why as we go forward and making decisions, we'll always follow what the science tells us and what the experts tell us. And, I know that there have been, some young people that have contracted it, but not very many.
A question about what's been the biggest challenge for you to go through the last 3 to 4 months to try to come up with a game plan that would accomplish what you need to accomplish and protect the players so you don't have something really bad happen? What shocked you the most, or your learning curve?
I think the one thing as a staff and the one thing as athletic department and the football program itself, I think that we've done a very good job of communicating and educating. I think we've done a very good job, Hacksaw, of implementing the procedures that we feel are safe and will keep our team healthy.
Brady, what have you guys done to kind of keep the players' parents in the loop, and what's their reaction been as they've kind of learned what your guys' plan is?
Yeah, Kirk, we met with our players' parents about 6 weeks ago, and then as we started the move-in date with the freshmen and the sophomores, July 6th, we met with them again and just went over all the protocols that we have in place, how we're going to flow through the Fowler Athletic Center, what we're doing without using the locker room at this point, and everything that we're doing from a football conditioning aspect or lifting has been outside on the fields.
What was the parents' biggest concerns, and do you feel like you guys have addressed all those?
Kirk, I think we have. I think, the normal concerns would be, the testing issue, obviously, and then how we're going to keep the distancing and enforce the mask wearing and all those things.